The moment I saw her across the dimly lit restaurant, my chest tightened in a way I hadn't felt in years, like a memory I had buried deep, suddenly clawing its way back to the surface. I froze mid-step, my hand still gripping the back of the chair I was about to pull out. My breath caught somewhere between disbelief and something dangerously close to hope. Because sitting there, nervously twisting the edge of a napkin between her fingers, was not just my blind date. She was the one person I had spent years trying to forget, Sophia Carter. The girl who once knew every secret I had, and the one who left without saying goodbye. Asterisk. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that some people are meant to find their way back into our lives, no matter how far they drift, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in love, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to comment, because your support truly keeps stories like this alive. Asterisk. I had almost canceled that night. Asterisk. The week had been brutal, the kind that leaves you drained in ways sleep can't fix. My job in Chicago had become a cycle of deadlines and empty evenings, and somewhere along the way, I had stopped expecting anything meaningful from life outside of work. When my friend Marcus insisted on setting me up with someone, I agreed more out of exhaustion than hope. A blind date felt like something out of a life I no longer lived, but I showed up anyway, and then I saw her. Asterisk. Sophia looked different, yet somehow exactly the same. Her hair was longer now, cascading softly over her shoulders, and there was a quiet maturity in her expression that hadn't been there when we were kids. But her eyes, they were unchanged. Deep, warm, and filled with the same gentle curiosity I remembered from years ago. Asterisk. Years ago. When everything was simpler. Asterisk. We had grown up in a small town in Ohio, where everyone knew each other and life moved at a slower, more forgiving pace. Sophia and I had been inseparable back then. Shared lunches, secrets, dreams, everything. She was the kind of person who made you feel understood without saying much at all. I was the boy who didn't realize how rare that kind of connection was until it was gone. Asterisk. The last time I saw her, we were 17. Asterisk. It was the summer before college, a time when everything felt like it was about to change. I remember standing under the old oak tree near the school. It's the same place we used to sit after classes, talking about everything and nothing. That day, I had planned to tell her how I felt. I'd rehearsed the words 100 times, convinced myself that she felt it too, but she never showed up. Instead, I got a message that night. Short. Distant. She was leaving. Her family was moving to California. There was no explanation, no goodbye in person. It's just a sudden, quiet disappearance that left behind more questions than answers. Asterisk. For years, I carried that silence with me. Asterisk. I wondered what I had done wrong. I replayed every conversation, every moment, searching for something I might have missed. But there was nothing. Just an unfinished story that never got its ending. Asterisk. And now, here she was. Asterisk. Sitting across from me, in a city far from where we started. Looking just as stunned as I felt. Asterisk. The first few minutes were awkward in a way that only something deeply familiar can be. There was so much to say, and yet the weight of the past made every word feel heavier than it should have been. We smiled, exchanged simple pleasantries, pretended for a moment that this was just another blind date. But it wasn't, it couldn't be. Asterisk. As the evening went on, the tension slowly gave way to something softer. We talked about where life had taken us, about the years in between, about the people we had become. She told me about her work in Seattle, about how she had moved around a lot before finally settling down. I told her about Chicago, about the career I had built, about how life had turned out. Different than I expected, but there was one thing neither of us mentioned. Not at first. Asterisk. The past sat between us like an unspoken question, waiting for the right moment to be acknowledged. And when it finally came, it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. Asterisk. She looked down at her hands for a moment, fingers tracing invisible patterns on the table. And then she said something that shifted everything. She said she was sorry, not in a casual passing way, but in a way that carried years of weight behind it. And suddenly, all the emotions I had buried came rushing back. She told me about that summer, about how her father had lost his job unexpectedly, how her family had been forced to leave overnight to stay with relatives across the country. She told me how chaotic it had been, how she barely had time to process what was happening, let alone say proper goodbyes. And then she told me the part that hurt the most. She had wanted to see me. Asterisk. She had gone to the oak tree that day. But I wasn't there. I felt my heart drop, because I remembered that day differently. Asterisk, I had been there. I had waited for hours. But at some point, convinced she wasn't coming, I had left. Just minutes, maybe even seconds before she arrived. Asterisk, we had both shown up, just not at the same time. For years, I thought she had chosen to leave without me. And for years, she thought I hadn't cared enough to stay. Asterisk, all because of a moment that slipped through our fingers. Asterisk. The realization was almost too much to process. Asterisk. How something so small could change everything. Asterisk. How a few missed minutes could rewrite the course of two lives. The rest of the evening felt different after that. Lighter, but also heavier in a strange way. Like we were both seeing each other clearly for the first time in years, without the misunderstandings that had kept us apart. Asterisk. We laughed more. We relaxed. The connection we once had began to surface again, not as something from the past, but as something real, something present. Asterisk. And yet, there was still uncertainty, because life had moved on. We weren't those kids anymore. Asterisk. We had built separate lives, followed different paths, become people shaped by experiences the other wasn't a part of. Asterisk. The question wasn't just whether we could reconnect, it was whether we should. As the night came to an end, we stepped outside into the cool Chicago air. The city buzzed around us, alive and indifferent to the quiet storm of emotions we were both feeling. Asterisk. We stood there for a moment, neither of us quite ready to say goodbye. And in that silence, I realized something. Not everything in life gets a second chance. Some moments are gone forever, lost to time and circumstance. But sometimes, just sometimes, life gives you another opportunity. It's not to go back, but to move forward with the understanding you didn't have before. Asterisk. Sophia looked at me then, her eyes searching mine for something I couldn't quite name. Asterisk. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was chasing a memory. Asterisk. I felt like I was standing at the beginning of something new. Asterisk. If this story is touching your heart right now, if you've ever wondered about the what-ifs in your life, take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And here's a special request comment below the name of someone you wish you had one more chance with. Asterisk. Because sometimes, those chances come when we least expect them. Asterisk. We didn't make any promises that night. We didn't rush into anything or try to force a perfect ending. Instead, we chose something simpler. We chose to try, to see where this unexpected reunion might lead without the weight of the past holding us back. Asterisk. As I watched her walk away, a soft smile on her face. I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Asterisk. Not regret, not longing, but hope. Asterisk. The kind that doesn't come from knowing what will happen next, but from believing that whatever does happen, it's worth finding out. Asterisk. And maybe that's what second chances really are. Asterisk. Not a way to fix the past, but an opportunity to build something better from it. Asterisk. So if this story stayed with you, if it made you feel something real, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means more than you know, and stories like this exist because of people like you.